What is up, everybody? Hunter with the Lost Socket Garage, and today class is in session one more time before spring break. It's the last class at Coupetofastback University. All right, if you've been watching this series, you have watched this car go from a 67 beautiful green coupe, green coupe, to a 67 fastback. Well, almost. We're almost done with it. This is the last class. You guys are going to be graduating today, and by the end of this video, you could have your very own converted fastback. Now, so far, we've covered everything that you need. We've covered the parts. We've covered where to cut, how to prep, how to build a jig, and do all of that stuff. We have gotten to the point where all of our final measurements have been taken. The car is completely screwed together. Everything, the vast majority of everything, is where we want it, and we're even sanity checking it a little bit. So let's get into how far we've come and what's next. You'll notice the drip rails are missing. That's fine. That's going to be part... Oh, that was loud. That's going to be part of the next step as far as prep is concerned, but as long as everything here fits right, which it does.
This is called foreshadowing.
We know the drip rails are going to be fine. The whole car is screwed together except for the wheel wells. That's one of the last things we do. Filler panel with our handy dandy little angle iron trick to pull it together. We still need to take this entire car apart, and then when we put it back together after we prep everything, we'll make sure to put this filler panel underneath the quarter panel. Tail panel's all screwed in. It looks awesome. All of our measurements look great. We got this to 53 very easily. Some of this is kind of partially prepped, but we're going to go through exactly each panel, what you need to do. Now, a sanity check is always nice, and we happen to have a fastback glass with a trim on it. Obviously, do not fully install it because it's just a waste of a gasket. If you have one, it's nice. This is sitting in here. Awesome gaps. The trim is going to fit just fine. No rocking side to side. Now, this is just screwed in on the side. That's why it's sitting a little bit higher. So it's sitting on self-tappers that are along the quarter panel and roof. Gaps are great. Woo! Line looks great. Woo! So you may be asking yourself, okay, Hunter, I've gotten this far. Everything looks like what you did here today. What do I do next? Well, the next part is you take everything apart once again. Let's get into the prep on the panels. We know everything fits, but we have to weld it all together, which means everything has to come back off. So while everything's on, I thought I'd show you exactly where you need to prep. Get yourself one of these. Harbor Freight, I are fairly cheap at Harbor Freight. It's just a hole punch. Man, it's even if you're just doing one of these, it is totally worth it. It's going to save you a billion hours in drill bits. Starting at the roof. You're going to do about 4 inches-ish, 3 to 4 inches apart, holes all along the front here, right here in the lead line, because we're not letting this in. We're welding that in. Around here, now I know that it's going to leave you with basically just little like half moons because the width of the stamp thingy is... You get it, but it's going to be really sharp. So remember that when you're putting it back on, it's like a bunch of little hooks just sticking out of here. Okay, so we're going along here. All the way along here, same thing. Now you're going to be plug welding this car together. For the majority of it is going to be plug welded together. Again, we'll get to the drip rails here in just a second.
Foreshadowing happens when clues in a story hint at future events.
As far as the quarter panel is concerned, you want holes here. Now, when you're popping in spot weld holes, make sure they're fairly close to the edge, just for a little bit more rigidity, especially on these corners. So again, every 3 to 4 inches all the way down here. You're going to do the same thing at the bottom of the quarter panel right there. along the wheel well, along here, where it attaches to the side assembly, and then at the tail panel, you're going to put them all along here. As far as the filler panel is concerned, we're going to do a plug weld here. Same thing on the other side. We're going to be doing plug welds, same distance, all the way across here. On the back, it is going to be a little bit different. We're going to show you this in a second, because if you plug weld from top down, it's really, really hard to clean this out. So we typically put the plug weld holes in the seat divider, and then we weld up. Well, Derry welds up. He super loves it. Woo! I forgot these on the quarter panel. Couple right there, couple right there. These are for your extensions. Okay, that's where to prep the skins. Now, we're gonna take this apart real quick and show you the inner structure and what to prep, because you're gonna have to clean off some of the paint. Now we have this back down to the frame. We wanted to mount up our drip rails, and this is kind of how it works. You want to get a screw in here, make sure that the drip rail is lined up with your inner structure, and then you just kind of press it in. This box, this alignment box, is pretty much going to sit right there. We actually leave this floating until we get the quarter panel back on, and then we press it in and screw it in at the bottom before we weld it. Issue here though, and this is super common for the last, I don't know, year and a half, 2 years, something like that. It's been a while. They are actually cutting these, God, longer and longer every damn time.
That's what she said.
But you're going to have to, once you screw everything in, you're going to have to take at least a little bit off. This one's fairly egregious, to be honest with you. Make sure this is tucked back right in the corner along here. Screw it in across the top here, and then set it against right there. At the bottom, we need to do some cleaning in that corner to get this to set flush. Now, how to prep the drip rail. Still using plug welds. We're going to offset our welds to not only disperse heat, but help hold it in all areas. You're going to put plug welds here. The easiest way to do this is with a drill. Unfortunately, the little spot weld guy over there doesn't get the hard to reach places. Again, you want to keep your holes fairly close to corners all the way down. This is the bit that's going to attach to the inner structure, and then that's the bit along the B pillar. Again, 3 to 4 inches around that ballpark, but hit your corner. Now, I know it's fitting a little bit weird right now, but it'll all come together once you get this. I mean, typically what we do is we just try to make a straight cut right at the top of the B pillar. So just make a little mark here and then zip this off. That is so much. What we're gonna do is take this drip rail off real quick and show you how to prep your inner structure. All right, so where we are prepping the inner structure, starting at the front, going to put a couple of holes up here, weld it straight down to the car. We're going to put a hole right there, going to put one right here, and then one underneath. Where you see the squiggly lines is where you need to clean off with either a light grit flap disc or a wire wheel, something that's going to work there. Now, your parts are going to come, I probably should have talked about this a little bit earlier, but your parts are going to come in 2 different flavors as far as paint is concerned. This gray stuff is a weld through primer. I don't have to clean this off before welding to it. This is the more common one, which is like an E-coat. This stuff, you need to get it off before you weld to it. So the drip rail is going to go right here. So we're going to clean that off. Inside of the drip rail to the B pillar, we're going to clean all that off around that area, around the edge on the B pillar where the quarter panel attaches. We're going to weld in here. We still need a couple of spot welds there. As far as the roof brace, we're going to need holes to brace it or to weld it to the inner structure. So we're going to kick those out, and then underneath on the inner structure, you see Derry has this marked out. We're going to clean this entire area. Pro tip, you're going to move this thing around a lot. So make sure when you have your final fitment, as you're taking stuff off, circle the screws that are part of your final fit. So you don't, like, when you put it back together, you don't want to use this hole, you know, circle the one that is correct. We're going to do plug welds right there. They have little half moons that we'll show you here in a bit. They're going to attach it to the wheel well on the inside, so you need to prep that. You need to clean this off because this is where the filler panel is attaching to, and you're welding top down on this. And like I was talking about in the last section, you put holes on this and you weld up. That's going to make your life a lot easier as far as cleaning. On the inside here, you're going to need some spot weld holes right here, some plug weld holes right here. So we're going to need to put those in, but we have all of our final fitment, so we know we can just slap this back together. Corners, we're going to need holes in, a couple of plug weld holes as marked. One right there. You can seam that too. That's not a big deal. And then just make sure all the areas that you're welding to are prepped. Don't forget the little feetsies here. Put 2 holes in these little feetsies. We've forgotten to weld these in before. Super annoying. And then you got little brackets that are going to go in under there. So I'd advise cleaning off the bottom of your trunk separator as well. So, gonna get to prepping. Yay!
Yay!
Yay! Okay, here's the look at everything prepped. Dare you just used the spot weld cutters. Stuff that you don't want to move, like when the inner structure gets in the perfect position, you don't really want to move it. So sometimes you can just use spot weld cutters for your plug weld holes. Same thing on the B-pillar. This area is clean. He cleaned all of this up. Got our spot weld holes for the roof brace. Cleaned up here. Everything's basically ready to go back on. But first we got to weld in the inner structure. So how this will work is all of this gets welded first.
Wow.
And then the other stuff gets welded.
Wow.
What are you whispering?
I didn't fucking whisper shit.
I heard you whisper something. Terry, if you're trying to drive me crazy, I'm already there. So a lot of times you'll just have to stitch this right here, weld at the bottom. Same thing all the way through. Weld along here. We got some little half moon feetsies. Little feetsies that are going to go on the wheel well right there. That's a feetsie. And then the feetsie's going to go like a this. It's very nice. So Darius gonna get to welding. So time lapse. All right, everything is together. The inside is welded. Admittedly, we had to do a little bit of persuasion in a couple areas.
Foreshadowing happens when
It took like a day and a half. We ended up moving the inner structure back just a smidge potato chip. And then everything fit. What's up, dog? Everything fits now. So I'll show you where you're going to weld, where the holes are. Wow. Drip rail, here and there, plug weld holes all along here. It's clamped along the roof. Wheel well is going to fit nice after we clamp it in. Here, again, this roof gap is just a thing we got to deal with for the last little while. This just sits funky now, so we're going to have to seam weld it under here. We're going to put the little half moons, the little feet along the inner structure. B-pillars are all welded in. You're going to weld along the quarter panel. You're going to weld along here. You're going to weld from the bottom because if you weld through the top, it's almost impossible to clean. Or it's not impossible. It's just a pain in the ass. So we're going to weld in there. And you're going to weld your corners in. Make sure that this is at 53. We got to set that one back in, but this will be at 53 from corner to corner. We're going to weld all along the tail panel. All this looks good. We're going full send mode. Home slices. Home slices. There's a little weld under there. Don't forget a little foot right there. And then we got to put some bracketry at the bottom of the seat divider. And yeah, at the end, you're going to have a welded together fastback. So these kids are going to weld. Everybody say yay. Yay. Everybody say yay. Woo, 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 woo. They're so happy. Da, 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 da. That's the graduation music, isn't it? Da, 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 da. She's all done. Look at her. Look at her. Look at this. Look at this. If your car looks like this, congratulations. You probably did it right.
I know most of you are saying, hey, any idiot could do that. Well, it was tough for me, so back off!
So pretty. Door gaps are decent. Again, all the final adjustment stuff is going to be done in paint and body. Gaps look great though. We go over and just kind of spray our welds with primer just in the interim so it doesn't get a lot of like surface rust. Stock tail panel, all looks good. You guys saw it fitted with the rear window. Everything's all welded. Bam. See, that was easy, wasn't it? It was totally easy. Now, next, she's actually going to body and paint. I'm not going to cover the bracket kit. I already have a bracket kit video I can link below for you that I've done on installing the bracket kit. Keep in mind, all of this was done using a 67. It's good for a 67 or a 68 fastback as far as the measurements are concerned. 65, 66 do have different measurements, but I do have a measurement video for that car earlier on in our channel, and when we do the next one, I'll redo it as well. Oh, look, I'm a fastback. I'm pretty. All right, now obviously there's a few other things that you're going to need to complete this. After you get body and paint, you're going to need door glass, you're going to need rear glass, you're going to need a rear fold down seat, which is actually a couple of different pieces. You're going to need the interior panels that go along right behind the B-pillar. You're also going to need a new headliner and interior pieces basically to finish it off. But I hope that this guide was a good walkthrough for you guys to get you to this point. We'll have another video or few on Emmy coming up here soon. If you enjoyed the content or if you found the series helpful at all, like, subscribe, do all the algorithm stuff. Also, if you want to support the shop a little bit further, consider checking out our merch. We got hats, shirts, or get your products from cjponyparts or our affiliate links below. I don't have a diploma for you guys. Wow. But I really hope this whole series helped. If you have any other questions, lostsocketgarage@gmail.com. Until next time, do what you love, don't be a dick, and as always, never be tamed. Peace.